Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the president and CEO here at Woodland Pond, and this is my weekly address for a Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. Before I get into the long list of things I wanted to talk about today, if you watched my Council Connections interview with Dave Smith, you will remember a story about some fauna that you might see along the road. Well, I saw such fauna today along the front road here at Woodland Pond, right across from the concierge. And perhaps I'll have Lindsay link the picture for this weekly address link with the fauna. But let's just put it this way. Oh dear. Now, into today's weekly address. Let's see. We'll start with some Residents Council news. The Residents Council has asked me to remind you that the last call to run for the 2025 Residents Council will be due to Alice Cross by August 1st. If you're interested in applying to be a candidate for the Residents Council, there is an application form which you can receive at concierge, and then it needs to be in Alice Cross's cubby in the mailroom or in her folder at concierge by August 1st so that that can be presented to the Residents Council and the nominating committee. I am not entirely positive at this exact moment if 4 members or 5 members will be up this year. Every year it's either or because we have 9 in total, and it's either 4 or 5 each year that turn over. I will just tell you sort of from my anecdotal perspective that I value the residents that participate in the Residents Council enormously, and I value their input. I know all of my executive team and our staff do as well. We really pride ourselves on our Residents Council having a significant amount of access and exposure to the things that are going on here on campus and having a voice in what goes on. And I would strongly encourage those residents, especially those newer residents that are looking for ways to connect with the community, to attend resident council meetings, which are open, as are all of our committee meetings, to get to know your neighbors, but also to consider running for the Residents Council. The form will explain the parameters, and I wish you all very well. Usually the election is in September or October, and then the term starts in January after a little bit of onboarding with the existing Residents Council. So thank you to the nominating committee, the Residents Council, and to those residents that will choose to put their name in the ring. Oh, incidentally, there is also a panel that happens before the election where you get to meet the candidates. So that's a great opportunity for the other residents to get to know the residents that are running that you might not know so well. So you can look forward to that coming onto your calendar relatively soon. The next thing is today you will see some people walking around or working here on campus with film and photography equipment. That is because we received the very, very hard to achieve showcase status account for Sodexo for the first time ever in 15 years of being open. We did earn that a few months ago. We've announced it a few times, but as part of that recognition and that level of achievement, Sodexo does like to highlight and create a film reel and some photography reels related to our campus and show it off. So for those of you that are participating in either individual interviews or interviews with a neighbor, allowing us to take your mug shots in the bistro today or at the pub, thank you very much for your participation. And once that footage is available, we will share it with everyone. But it's sort of our little brag book about how excited we are to have been, named a showcase account, and then what we really love about all of the benefits of our relationship with Sodexo. The next timely thing is that our search for the general manager for the dining room continues and is underway. I would like to report that we received many applications for that position, which is fantastic. We also have many applications, and from what I understand, they are equally as fantastic for the chef manager position that's currently vacant. So we are working through those applications. And as you all know, Woodland Pond places a great emphasis on this particular position. It's one of the few positions where we not only interview, where the hiring folks do the interview with like HR and stuff, but that our executive team meets with the top candidates once or more, depending on how close we come to a decision. And we also include the residents. In this case, so far, the dining committee has met with the top 3 candidates. They did that Thursday and Friday of last week and have given me their feedback after sleeping on it this weekend. The executive team did the same thing. And out of the 3, 2 are sort of in contention now, and we will be meeting with those candidates again on Thursday. So thank you very much to everyone that has participated. I think this time we're looking to involve the Residents Council to give their feedback. That's kind of all being worked through at the moment, but please stay tuned for that invitation. There is a new suggestion box for leadership in the mailroom with a pen and suggestion slips. One of many ways that you can provide your feedback to us. So a little bit different than the rumor mill, which tends to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Some folks had said, why don't we have a suggestion box? And we did used to have one. It was by the hostess station. We just purchased a new one and it's in the mailroom. So if you don't feel comfortable with an email or dropping an anonymous note to one of us with concierge or whatever, you now have a suggestion box, and we will check those a couple times a week. If you would like us to respond to you directly, please do leave your name or other contact information. And on a similar note, we have to get to the bottom of a little bit of a mystery at Woodland Pond. There has been a prayer box or a request for prayer box that has appeared in the mailroom, and I now have it in my office. It seems that no one present on campus today that I talked to is aware of the origin of that box. And the mailroom is a little bit sacrosanct. So the things that go in there really need to be approved by management. The prayer box is definitely need for discussion because, of course, we are non-secular here on campus. There's a question about whether or not that impacts any of our handbook policies. So I'm not concluding on anything yet, but temporarily the box is in my office. If you know anything about it, if you could please let me know. Similarly, I have discovered now that there's also a prayer request cubby in the mailroom. And I likewise, I'm not sure of the impetus or the where that came from. So if you know anything about either of those things, if you could please contact me through Lindsay or just directly and help me to figure out the mystery, we will figure out what's going to happen with those 2 items. Thank you very much. Okay, there are currently masks required in the health center because we have a COVID positive resident in skilled nursing. This seems to have been a hospital acquired infection. No other staff are positive, no other residents are positive, and this particular resident's spouse is also not positive. The resident has been in and out of the hospital, so it's reasonable for us to conclude at this point that it was acquired in the hospital. COVID is sort of all over the place now. It has been for a year. It's not uncommon at all, but the regulations still sort of haven't caught up with the rest of the world that say, you don't have to go into somewhat of a lockdown. We are not locked down, but masks are required to enter skilled nursing, and you will see signs for that. I believe the period of time for that is 10 days from the date of the last positive test. So please do anticipate that being for the next 10 days, and masks are available at reception. Okay, visitors. We have seen a troubling trend happening with visitors in independent living not signing in at concierge. And I really have to emphasize that this is a non-starter. We cannot have anybody in this building without knowing that they are here. And the way we do that with staff is that we all have badges. We use our badges to, or we log in on the time clock or whatever it is. For visitors, our concierge and our reception staff are the gatekeepers of visitors coming into the building. Visitors should not be coming in any other entrance, even into the cottages, without checking in at concierge. We must know who's on this campus at all times. It is a safety issue. It's a security issue for staff, for residents, and for other guests. And this includes people that have aides, companions, family visiting. Even if you live on a ground floor or if you live in a cottage, everyone needs to be checking in at concierge before they go on to their ultimate destination. This is a non-starter. I will unapologetically enforce this to the extent that we become aware of specifics, because we simply cannot have people in the building or in any of our buildings without knowing who's here and what they're here for. We take your safety extremely seriously. And among other concerns are, there is a trust issue that is created when folks are not coming through concierge. If you have one person that's not coming through, it raises the question of how many others are coming through. And we may not have a concern about you or your visitor in particular, but we can't have that trust be displaced in any way. On a similar note, the residence and care agreement is very specific about how long visitors can stay and what that entails. We really need to see that enforced, and I will be working with my department heads to make sure that that is enforced. We have seen some really excessive visits happening, and it's making us question about whether or not there are residency sort of squatter kind of issues going on in a couple of situations. Of course, obviously, people that are in hospice or end of life or having some kind of an acute health emergency need somebody to stay for longer. There's a provision for that, but the provision is that it's with management's approval. These kinds of things, the signing at concierge, the extended visitor visits without notifying management, all of these things really have to stop, because it is our responsibility to ensure that this building is secure. We have not had any issues, but that's because we have these policies in place and we need compliance. So please take that to heart, and please don't be surprised if you hear from me or another member of the leadership team that we need you to be adhering to this. The other thing I would just mention is, you're all aware at this point that when we did the drill, the exercise last October, that we made a significant investment in cameras on the exterior of the campus and in some interior locations. I don't want to have to be in the situation where I'm monitoring the comings and goings of guests because we're having a trust issue about whether your folks are signing in. But I won't hesitate to do so if it means enforcing the security and the safety of the residents. So we will talk some more about this. I would like to thank the late resident, so if she can hear me, but also her powers of attorney and loved ones for supporting her desire. But we did have a resident that bequeathed 25% of her Woodland Pond refund to the benefit fund. And that was done without our pulling it out of her. She did it voluntarily. She had changed her refund designation form at some time in the past before she passed away. And we were very pleasantly surprised to see that gift. And then, of course, we verified that that was the intention with her, the folks that were going to be clearing up her estate, and they endorsed it 100%. It's a fantastic way to make sure that the benefit fund or Woodland Pond or the endowment is here to serve the residents going into the future. The benefit fund just made another very generous $2,000 contribution to our employee tuition assistance program. And among other things, right now, it's helping a couple of our staff move their way through nursing school, including one longtime staff member who has been an LPN with us for years, who is on her path to becoming an RN And we are very proud to say that with the assistance of the benefit fund, Woodland Pond is paying for her schooling. She will work for us when she graduates. So it's a win-win. But this cycle of bequeathing, donating, and making those generous requests allow us to just strengthen the bonds and the quality of the staff and other services that we're providing here at the community. So thank you very, very much. On the topic of safety and security, we have had a couple of incidents over the last month or so that has resulted in those of us that make this decision in concluding that we simply cannot allow residents to opt out of the courtesy checks. We have done so in independent living, but with reservation. We understand that folks don't like to get a phone call every day or whatever the case may be. We then sort of said, well, for couples, it's okay. But we've had a couple of incidents that have made us really rethink this. And the bottom line is that there is a family expectation or a community expectation, realistically, within our community, that Woodland Pond has eyeballs or talks to every resident in independent living every day. We do the exact same thing in the health center. And there is a reason that the regulators think that it's important that we have, seen you or contacted you during the day. It really should be absolutely no different in independent living. There is entirely a possibility that two residents and a couple could have fallen ill from the same, let's say, food that they ate or a trip that they went on. And if we don't see them and we have them opted out because they're a couple, that they could both be ill and in need of our care, effective immediately, everyone will be added to the courtesy list. If you are looking for strategies about how to make that less impactful in your life, we can talk through that with you. We can put some tips into the Chanticleer. A lot of people just, call concierge and say, I'm here, or send an email. Those are completely fine options. It's just we need to see you or hear from you every day, and effective immediately, the list will be updated to include all independent living residents without exception. And again, this is a real community expectation that we're looking out for one another, and that we know where you are. If you are going to be away, we need a trip sheet from you. You can get those from concierge. That explains, and that's if you're going to be away anytime overnight. So if it's 1 night, 2 nights, 5 nights, 20 nights, if you're not going to be on campus overnight, we do need that from you. That will be a big help in us trying to track you down during the courtesy check, but please go ahead and do that as well. And the last thing, this has been a heavy one today, relates to the MOST forms in independent living that folks are requesting that allow them to have a DNR sticker. So last week, I showed you these stickers. This is the DNR sticker that can go on your badge. Hopefully you can all see that. That would tell your neighbors or EMS or another first responder or a staff member that if they find you unconscious and unresponsive, that you have a DNR on file. And what that will prompt them to do is ask our staff for that DNR, proof of that DNR. And if you're in your cottage or apartment in independent living, that is going to be in your emergency packet, hopefully, if you've kept it intact. If you reside in the health center or in any part of the health center, the process is different, so they've got you covered. But here in independent living, we have had a handful of residents that have sought out the sticker because they clearly do not want to be resuscitated. But what we are finding is we do not have either updated MOST forms on file for you, the medical orders for life-sustaining treatment form, which is required by New York State. The form that we have is not the current version, and it has to be, or we're finding that it's not completely filled out, including your physician's signature. And all of those things are required. So if you are going to concierge and you are asking for the authorization form to get the DNR sticker, we are auditing your MOST form to make sure that we have on file and then can hand over to a first responder when requested, or make sure it's in your emergency packet that we have on file the current version of the New York State MOST form, which is available at concierge right now or outside Mary Jo's office, that it has been completed in accordance with the requirements of the form and signed by your physician, and that we actually do have it. We keep a hard copy on file, in your master file in the business office. We keep an electronic copy on file in our electronic medical record, so it can be easily printed out if you are found in need of assistance and you're not in your apartment or cottage. So we're not taking this lightly. So far, I've only handed out 2 stickers because there's only been 2 circumstances where all of the T's were crossed and I's were dotted. So if you are interested in that and you feel strongly that you do not want to be resuscitated, please do read the form, the authorization form that's available for you at concierge, and then expect to possibly get a phone call from my assistant, Lindsay, saying that you're missing this or missing that. And you may indeed need to have an appointment with your physician in order to get that form signed. So we just want to be really careful with that. This is life or death stuff. I am in the office the remainder of the week. If you need anything, you know where to find me. Take care.